Choma Stitches. My name is Choma. So today we are going to be making the exaggerated sleeve you're seeing on the top right hand corner of this video. So I'm going to be dropping all the measurements I use in the description box. And I want to thank all the new subscribers that have joined the family. You guys are welcome. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And for the old subscribers, thank you so very much. And if you're joining us for the first time, I hope you decide to stay. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if it turns out to be of any help to you at the end of the day. So let's get straight into the tutorial. This is a rough sketch we are going to be using to explain what I'm about to do so that it will not be confusing when we start doing it on the main fabric. Okay, so I'm using this paper as a sketch, and I've just ruled out straight lines and I've marked it out, and I marked the intersections, as you can see. And what I mean by the intersections are the parts where the lines meet. These are the places we are going to be picking to fold in, okay, on the fabric. Now, to achieve this on your plain fabric, you have to measure the width and the length of the fabric you are working with, and you divide it to match what you want. And of course, depending on how big your fabric is and how full or how rough you want the puffy effect to be. Now, because this paper is not much, I have about 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches for this. Okay, now when we start sewing, what we're going to do is at these intersections, we're going to pick up each part of it like so, fold it again, and then we are going to sew, and then we are going to sew here. So we're going to do the same thing on every part of it. Okay, so we're just going to keep picking it like so and making the sewing. So let me show us the main fabric we are working with. Okay guys, so this is a complete 2 yards of fabric. Okay, this is 2 yards of the fabric they call Mercury. Now I used 2 yards for this tutorial. I want to show you guys how I cut it out to get this effect in case you want to replicate it so that you can get exactly the same effect. So what you see here is the full 2 yards folded into two. So we have here like this first layer I see is like 1 yard, and it's it is by 60. So this is the second layer of the sleeve. Okay, and then the one you see here is the first layer. You see that it's smaller both in width and in length because that is the effect we are going for. And what you see there is the band that is cut into two. So we have two of them for each sleeve, and all of them are all on fold. Note that. And this is the fabric we're going to be using for the part we're going to be using for the sleeve. This is the part we'll be using for the sleeve, and as you can see, it's also on fold. So I'm going to be using an already drafted sleeve pattern to cut it out. I'm going to leave a link in the description box on how you draft a sleeve pattern if you don't know how to draft your basic sleeve. The puffy sleeve we are making is 2 steps. As you can see, there are 2 layers of it. Now this is this first layer. The first layer, I don't want it to be too full. I don't want it to be too full, and I don't want it to be too long. Okay, the length for the first layer is shorter, while the length for the other layer is longer. So for this layer, I have 13 inches by 40. Okay, for the length of this one, because I want it to be busy, I have marked out 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches for each box. So I am going to be taking this to the machine, and I'm going to pick it up like so, fold it at these intersections, and I'm going to go ahead and sew just a little at the end. They're making a triangle, and I'll do that for all of them in the center. Now you can, if your fabric is long enough to extend here, you can also do here. Another thing you should note is that at the edges of this fabric, because I want this to be puffy, very puffy, that is why I iron paper stay on it. Now you can also make it with a fabric that is thick. This fabric is thick by the way, but I decided to make it thicker because I want it to really stand. Now if you don't want yours to have the same effect, you might skip the part where you have to iron paper stay on it and just work on your fabric like that. Okay, so and then because I am working with a fabric and a paper stay, that is why I left some space. I left 1 inch at the top here and 1 inch here, and this 1 inch that I left on both sides is because this is the part I'm going to be sewing directly on the sleeve. So this part I will not have to struggle with the strongness that this paper stay has given. Now before I start pinching it to sew like this at each intersection, I'm going to first run a loose stitch all the way to the end and run a loose stitch all the way to the end as well. Now that loose stitch is what we're going to use to gather it when we're attaching it to the sleeve, and we'll see that as we go. Now this is the first layer that is not very long, and then this is the second layer. You can see how This is longer. This is by 60, the full length of 60. The width of this one is by 60 and the length is by 21 inches. So also note that these are the measurements I'm using for my own. So if you don't want yours to be this full, also reduce it. And I also iron stay on it, as you can see, and I also left spaces. So I'm also going to go ahead and run loose stitch at this edge and loose stitch at this edge, the way I'm going to do it, so that I can gather it very well. And then for the boxes of this one, because this one has a longer width, I want it to be more spaced out. I have about 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches each. Okay, so for you to get this, just measure what you have and divide it so you can get the box that will be enough to accommodate the whole fabric that you are working with. Okay. So I've sewn all of it. As you can see, this is the bigger part and this is the top layer. This is it from the back, and this is really standing. The purpose for this is really working. So now we're going to be attaching this to the sleeve, and this is the sleeve I am going to be working with. Okay, now this is the right part of the sleeve, and to sew this I'm going to be starting with this one, with the larger part. Remember I told you to run a straight stitch, a loose stitch all around, all the way to the end. Okay, so now that stitch is going to come in handy now. So I'm going to gather it and I will leave 1 inch. I'm going to be leaving half of an inch or 1 inch away from this, and I'm going to go ahead and sew it. I will gather it and I will sew it all here, and then I will turn it this way and gather it as well. So I'm going to mark out the center like so. I'm going to mark it. This is the center on the sleeve. I'm going to do the same thing here too. Then I'm going to find the center of this one. And so like I said, I'm going to come up here by say 1 inch or 0.75. So I'm going to come up by 0.75 on the sleeve. So here I went up by 0.75 on the sleeve, and I went and I marked it out. By the way, the length of the sleeve I'm working with is about 17 inches. Now it depends on how long you want yours to be, and so just work with that. And then this is the center. I'm going to come here and match it on this center as well, and I'm going to pin it. This is going to help to even out the spread of the gather. So this is it. I've sewn it in opposite direction and turned it in like this. I'm going to go ahead and sew the other side, the other half of it. Then I'll take it to a table so that we'll see it clearly. Okay guys, so here I have sewn it. I have sewn this first line. Then this is the right side. So this is the reason why I sewed it in reverse. When you sew it in reverse like this, you get to keep all the rough parts inside, but we still have space that we can use to attach this main sleeve to the band that we're going to be attaching to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is sew this one now here at this joining. Okay, so I've marked out the center of this one as well, the center of the main fabric, and we have the markings for this one center. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it like so. Let me reverse it so you can see this thing clearly. So I'm going to match this to this, and I'm going to pin it. Now I'm going to go ahead and gather this one as well. I am going to gather this one and sew it here. And I'm going to go ahead and sew it here like this. So here I've gone ahead to sew it, as you can see. So I've gathered it and I've sewn it like so. Look at how it looks. It's having the volume and effect we want. Also here, I am going to also gather here. Don't forget to gather this place and sew it here, like on top of the sleeve, so that it will become the same length. Just gather it to be the same length with the sleeve and sew it here, and do the same thing on this side. Okay, so we have attached this. So what I'm going to do is to attach the second layer, and so this is the second layer. Now I'm going to find the center. We know the center of this one here, so I'm going to find the center of this one. So I'm going to take the center like so and match it to the center here. I'm going to place it on top of this one that we've sewn. Place it on top of it and pin it. Now what we're trying to do is conceal all of this sewing inside. So I'm going to gather this one as well. I'm going to gather it and sew it on top of the one that I've already sewn first. Okay, that way when you open it up, it would have concealed all the sewing, but you will see the demarcation between the first layer and the second layer, but the sewing would have been, the rough part would have been concealed. So I'm going to go ahead and gather this like so and sew it here. Then we can now turn it. I'm sure you are getting an idea of how we're going to conclude this part. And so guys, I've attached this second layer. Look at it. This is the main sleeve, as you can see, and so this is it. Let me turn it this way as well. This is the first layer, and this is the second layer. So now look at the way I sewed this second layer on top of this, covering the whole rough part of the first layer and of course the second layer at the same time. So you see the method. So I've used this to cover it, and you look closely, you will not see the rough part, and all you see is just the demarcation between the front layer, the first layer and the second layer. Okay, all right. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and gather it again, join these two the middle points together, and gather it around the armhole, that's the sleeve armhole. So I'm going to go ahead and gather it and sew it around the sleeve armhole, and then when I'm done, I am going to gather this side, the excesses on the side. I'm going to gather it and sew it along the sleeve. And here, this is it. Look at how big this looks. Okay, I have sewn it completely. This is it. This is the marcation between the first layer and the second layer. This is the back. Okay, this is the sleeve, as you can see. So I've sewn the sides here. I've sewn the sides, I've gathered it together, and this is the armhole. This is the armhole. So I'm yet to gather this place. I'm going to also gather here and sew it like so, so that to keep this. Now for this other side of the sleeve, to conceal it, this is the band that I cut out. So you cut out your band as long as you want it in the width and everything, but it depends solely on what you are working with. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, for this, I am going to make straight lines. I'm going to be sewing it with 1/2 of an inch. I'm going to be using this elastic to sew it. And so to attach it, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to be sewing at 1/2 of an inch. I'm going to sew at 1/2 of an inch, as many as it can contain. Now you can decide to make this up to 4 or 5. So I can make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines here. So I am first going to go ahead and sew the sides. Okay, so here I've gone ahead to sew the band. I've sewn the band like so, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it in. So this is it. Now you can iron this or whatever. So now that I have sewn it like this, I'm just going to go ahead and sew with 1/2 of an inch, and I'll keep making my lines until I get to wherever I want it to stop, or however lines of it I want. So here it is. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now for this 5, I intend to put only 4 bands, 4 elastics. I'm going to put 1, 2, leave this place with no elastic, and put 1, 2. And if you look closely, you will see here. So here, all of these places are open. I locked here and opened these places. Okay, so I'm going to start attaching the elastics. I will start with the last one. You attach the elastic at the last one. You're going to lock it, you attach the second elastic, you lock it, and then lock here and attach the third elastic, lock here and attach the last elastic, and lock here. Then we can now attach this to the sleeve. So these are my elastics that I've cut out. Okay, you just cut out elastic that is going to be comfortable on the hand and will be enough to go around, and we are going to start passing this out. This is how I am going to pass the elastic. So I'm going to start with the last one like I've mentioned, and I'm just going to pass this in here, and you start moving it in through the very last one. And also don't forget to pin this so that everything does not go inside. You pin it to the body of the cuff, okay, the band, and then you keep passing this in. So I've pinned it. Now I'm going to go ahead and lock the elastic first before I will lock the sides. And so here I've gone ahead to lock here. So I am going to let it slide in gently, and you just pass it in, okay? Now it has become a part of the first layer. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and lock here to secure it there. And then I'm going to pass the second one the same way, lock it, and just keep continuing. And at the end of the day, you are going to have a complete one, okay? So I want to quickly show us this. I've gone ahead to use overlocking machine to overlock all of the sides. Now this is very important because if the fabric you're using frays, and most fabrics that you can use for this, they all fray. So it is important that you secure the fabric so that you don't wear your clothes and be seeing threads pulling out all around. And then of course, if it frays and you don't secure it with an overlocking machine, it is good, the dress will not last, because it will start shredding to the point where it will start showing like it's torn. So it would have damaged the dress that you've suffered to make. Okay, so this is the armhole of the sleeve, and you see the markings I've marked to indicate what part of the sleeve is the front. Okay, and then this is the base. All right, this is the part where we're going to be putting the cuff, the elastic cuff, and this is the finished elastic cuff. I have passed all the elastic I need. Like I said, I passed 4 elastic, one here, left one in the center, with no elastic, and then move over to the second one, and this is what we have at the end of the day, and this is very beautiful. Okay, so now you're going to go ahead and fold this. You have to squeeze this in and go ahead and sew it all the way to here before you attach the elastic, and then before you will now attach everything to the main body of the dress. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew this and attach this. Look at how I squeeze it in to sew it. Okay, before turning it inside out, you are going to be attaching the band to it. So you are going to take this band and place it inside. I know it will be hard. You have to fix this inside like so, matching the sewing allowance to the sewing allowance, and go ahead and sew it round and then you turn it inside out and have your sleeve. So I've gone ahead to sew it round, and so this is the sleeve. So I'm going to turn it inside out now, everything. Oh wow, so this is it, our beautiful elegant sleeve. This is the same line, the same line, and this is it. I love it. I love the outcome. Look at how beautiful this is. I'm going to put this on the mannequin and show us, and of course I might also throw in a video of the full dress when I attach it to the full dress. I'm going to show us that. This is perfect, very clean. And so guys, here it is on the mannequin. If you stay to this part, then you get to see what the finished work looks like. And when you do try yours, I hope it comes out looking this clean. Don't forget to check the description box for other sleeve tutorials we have on this channel as well. And of course, I would like to hear from you guys, so please do leave your comments in the comment section. Make this class a very interactive class. I will also throw in a video of the dress I use this sleeve for. Don't forget to subscribe guys, and also don't forget to like this video. Stay positive, don't give up, and keep giving your best. See you in my next tutorial. Bye bye.